Our apologies for being late. We have met in closed session. We have a quorum. Let's start with the pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is this me? Yeah.
Well, thank you for these lovely gifts.
Should have done that. I never did.
It is
You with me?
Board Appreciation Month,
Oh,
so this is a little token of appreciation from the community for all the work you do in your job that pays you $0 for all of the work that you put in. So
Very
thank you all.
nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you.
So I was going to save this to the end of the agenda, but I'm going to take this opportunity to just say at this moment in time, if you're watching this, you're probably interested in the board. So we are going to be holding an informal kind of orientation. What was the date I meant to call you?
The 29th
The 29th
at
of
7
this month.
p.m.
7 p.m. here.
Yep.
For anybody who is interested in running for the board. You don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to be a lawyer, you don't have to have any kind of specific degree. What you have to have, you don't have to have a degree, what you have to have is a commitment to public education and a deep sense of advocacy for children. Because as Dr. Thiele said, this is no pay, no pension. The people sitting around this table that are board members are here giving their time and talents to the community because of their deep commitment to public education and to the betterment of education for children. So the 29th, be here or be square. And bring your questions. And we will also have packets for people to, for what they have to file for.
It'll explain
to
what
run.
they
It'll
have to
explain
file.
what they have to file, and those are also available online.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
DuPage County Election Commission.
And they don't have to attend that meeting to run.
No, that's
It's
correct.
just, if they want to find out more about running, they can show up and we'll talk about it. I'll put on my community board member hat that night and share a little bit.
But you can't have my cake.
No.
Okay.
Don't expect a huge crowd, unfortunately.
So,
Approval of minutes.
it's okay. The first thing we have is the approval of minutes.
Yeah, correct.
Sorry.
November 20.
We need a motion for the approval of minutes from November 21st and
No.
from.
No.
I'm sorry.
It would be nice if we could do that.
And November 7th.
Yes. I move we accept,
I just haven't gotten to it yet.
I move that we accept the minutes from October 17 and November 7. Second.
Thank you, Julia.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Julia Beckman,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Don Renner,
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Although I was not here on November 7th, I did read the meetings, and I did talk to board, a couple of board members, and so I feel comfortable in eyeing that.
Thank you. Rick
instead of
Pavanato.
abstaining.
The comment Deb just made is the comment I should also make. I did watch the, and talk and read, so aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Hi.
Thank you.
So this is the first, this meeting includes 2 opportunities for comments from the audience. Does anybody wish to address the board? Come on up. This is the first reception of visitor. It's intended for audience members to address the board about any agenda item on which the board will vote. The second reception of visitors is intended for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. We're going to ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And can you please state your name for the record? And your
My name's Jim Wool, and I have children who attended North and one who attends currently. How wrong do your parents feel it would be for you to drink beer, wine, hard liquor? For example, vodka, whiskey, or gin.
That's not an agenda.
How wrong do your parents feel it would be for you to have 1 or 2 drinks of alcoholic beverages every day?
Sir?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is this pertaining to an agenda item? Otherwise, we're
General
gonna-
comments.
Can we ask you to wait till the end of the meeting? We'd like to hear what you have to say, but we need to move on with the agenda first.
Oh, I'm sorry. And it's at the end of the meeting, or?
Yeah.
for general comments? Okay, what time would that be?
I say 8:30?
8:30, 9 o'clock?
Okay.
Thank you for understanding. Okay, recommendations and reports of the superintendent, the summer schools calendar?
Yes, this is just coming back to make sure there aren't any questions about the 4-day summer school calendar. We've discussed this in a couple of venues, but just want to make sure it's up for approval of the actual calendar for students tonight. And before we get there, I just want to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to ask any questions.
Yep, it looks good. Still looks good.
1 year only.
For 1 year only, yep,
Okay.
is all we're approving.
Okay, no questions.
All right, next item. Oh, sorry. Stealing your job from you.
Oh, that's okay. I think
Keep rolling.
It's the
All right.
reports of the
Same-
superintendent.
The next one is elimination of class rank transcripts and weighting of D in grades and honors and AP classes. I lumped these together. Julie and I did a full policy, or Gina, Julie, and I did a full review of policy. There are no policies preventing us administratively from making this change. This is I guess the last chance before I implement these changes as administration. If the board would like to change this path, would be to send the policy committee to work to make a different board policy, not allowing me to make these changes. But if not, then we're going to just proceed as planned and as outlined in prior meetings.
Right. And so just to summarize, so the two changes would be
Elimination
of class rank.
on reports and transcripts. We would still calculate it internally, and it would be available for scholarship applications and the like.
Okay.
And then the weighted D would be in honors or AP classes. Currently, A, Bs, or Cs get a weighted GPA grade point. D does not. We would be extending that opportunity to students that earn a D.
Yes.
We have brought this to students in several venues over the last month, and we have brought it to parents in our community advisory council. It has not been met with very fierce opposition in any of those settings. And the students have sent me many thank you notes for considering.
Does anybody have any concerns or questions they'd like to voice at this time?
It's long overdue,
Hearing none,
probably.
we'll move on to, I'm sorry, did you have something to say, Julie?
I just said it's probably long overdue.
Okay. Capital improvement plan?
Okay, capital improvement plan, we bring this each year at this time, is my understanding. I'm going to turn it over to Jim pretty much here in a second to go through some of the specifics. Just wanted to note that it's down from traditional. The traditional amount used to be, I think, 1.8 for quite a few years. Last year in the budget reductions, it went down to 1.2. This year, we're eking it up just a touch to capture a couple other projects at 1.3. And Jim will go through the highlights here for you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Thiele. Hard to believe we're talking about 2017-18, and we're just wrapping up last year's. In fact, the boiler house is just about complete at North High. I want to talk to you a little bit about life safety that we have on deck for next summer. 3 big projects, one at South, the transformers and switchgear, and 2 at North, the auditorium air handlers and the library air handlers. So we are ready in design, and we plan on going out to bid in January. So we're being very aggressive with these big projects coming up for next summer that are life safety. And with the shortened schedule, we want to be ahead of the game here. So those big 3 life safety projects for next year, along with these that I'll go through tonight, are on deck for next summer. Also, quick update, I just finalized and have sent to DCEO the final documents for the grant for the boiler house. And good news, and crossing fingers, we might get up to $184,000 back.
Wow.
So that's big numbers. So we'll know something in a couple months, and I'll bring it back to you guys.
That's great.
Good.
Good job.
Okay, as Dr. Thiele said, we're at 1.3 million for our budget. The matrix here is extensive this year. I'll try to go through as fast as I could. Some are annuals, but I'll just take you right down the list. We'll start with large RMS. This is maintenance and repairs for big equipment, big purchases, for things that break down, concrete work that are in the summer that we do for the schools, and also any major repairs for the unforeseen breakdowns throughout the year. Bleacher inspections, we do them manually. We get reports. I just received the reports from this past summer. So we put funding aside to get repairs done for interior and exterior bleachers at our campuses. The DW is district-wide on the building, in case anyone's asking. Going down, Legion Field swale. I'll spend a little time on this. So at Legion Field, we play our varsity baseball games. We take care of the field and the area, including the parking lot. This is an area that is past the outfield fence. What's happened over the years, it's eroded, and the water is draining to the homes that are north of it. We need to bring some soil in, take some trees out, and regrade that. So I've been working with the village now for almost a year and a half on this project. So we're going to implement it next summer and get it back to the water draining in the right spot, which is about left field, right past the fence and scoreboard, and that's where it all drains. So going east to west.
And just a point of clarification, especially for those in the crowd or watching this, is that Legion Field is really our responsibility based on a 99-year lease, correct?
That is correct.
So by all purposes, it's ours to maintain.
And there's another one coming up to do some work there as well. So doing some work at Legion Field this year. Here at the ASC, just some maintenance, sealing and striping of our parking lot. Also, and this is a project that was on last year's that we pushed to this year, the reshingling the roof. It's a tear off. We do have some leaks. They're minor, but there's probably some repairs that need to be done as well. So a little more expensive than what we've seen last year's budget, about 14,000 square feet. So it'll be a complete tear off and reshingle. Moving to north, this is annually their furniture, fixtures, and equipment, chairs, tables, student desks, the APs at each building put together based on department chairs' needs and distribute those funds in their school appropriately. Turf repairs for north, also annually for the green space at north and any repairs that are needed. Same amount this year. Oh, I want to go back to FF&E for north. We increased that 10,000 this year based on a few years ago there was more students at south, and we feel that with the enrollment at both campuses being fairly even now, we've bumped that $10,000 to keep it consistent to what South's getting on a yearly basis. Okay, back to Legion Field. So at South this past year, if anyone's been out at the varsity baseball field, we did some nice work there, including safety netting, some dugout work, and also the backstop at South. This year, we're going to do similar things to North. We're going to put up some 60-foot safety netting. We're going to put a new backstop in, and also the fencing that's from third and first base line heading out to the outfield will be replaced as well. I think I need to flip-flop that. That is the item. Hold that thought, because that's not the right budget number. I just went ahead of myself. This is also Legion Field. If you've been out there, the ramp, the handicap ramp that's over by the parking lot as you enter the field, that's going to be replaced. It's deteriorated and has work that needs to be done on it, so we're going to take that out and replace it. And also add some ramps to the actual seating area. So that's the budget number. I'm sorry to confuse you.
That was the 25.
That's it, sorry.
The work you're describing is the 95 down below.
That is correct, thank you. Going ahead of myself. Okay, handicap van at North, similar to last year, we replaced South's handicap van. It's a 1999 vehicle, it's due up for replacement, so that'll be next year. North Pool, as you all know, we do the tanks at the two auditoriums. It's North's turn. 3 years ago, I think we did South's lap tank, so North is due up for replastering this summer. Building automation system at North, and you'll see similar at South as well. This is the automated control system for North and its mechanicals. There are upgrades to the network controllers and also software upgrades to North High for the building equipment. Security cameras at North. Last year we did upgrades to the cameras that were analog. We made digital replacements. We did 54 district-wide between North and South. This year we're looking to expand on the cameras and add more to the campuses on areas that we feel we need coverage. So this is a budget number to add more cameras at North, and you'll see a number later on that's similar to South. Also, we're adding a couple cameras here at the ASC, one in the lobby and one in the exterior parking lot. That'll be included in these budget numbers. And we're back to Legion Field, which I explained, but for the $95,000, this is for the backstop, the safety netting and the fencing. So 3 things being done out there at Legion for next year. North Band Room, this is a replacement of the carpet. It was the installation of 99 when the remodeling was done at North. So it's a highly trafficked area with students and band instruments. It's due up for replacement. North Grounds is a piece of equipment that they use to groom the fields on a daily basis, along with PE, getting them ready for our kids to get out there for physical education classes. So baseball and softball fields is a new groomer for North. Transition 99 scrubber. This is a small walk-behind scrubber for their cleaning of the building floor on a daily basis. They did not have one there. So instead of mopping by hand each night, we're gonna get a walk-behind scrubber over there. Okay. Next 2 items for South are annuals as well, FF&E and grounds repairs. I don't have to go through that again. It's consistent to what I explained for North. South security cameras, again, similar to the work being done at North. We're replacing, upgrading with more cameras. Last year as well, we replaced the analogs to digital over there. Large area mower for South. This is a replacement of the current mower. It's really for the last year and a half has been breaking down, and we've kind of band-aided together. It's a 1998 mower, so we're looking to get a mower that's as large or larger to become more efficient for the mowing. So it's due up, and finally going to try to get it this year. Same with the replacement of the truck and plow at South. It's a 2000 Ford. It's due up for replacement. We kind of rotate to make sure that we're keeping up with our vehicles so we don't get hit at one time, to replace them all at once. Many hard miles on this piece of equipment at South. Rooftops, and we've done a lot of roofs in this district in the last 10 years, and this is the last of a few that are left. And believe it or not, they've been around since 1964 and 1969, so I think we've got our years out of it. 2 large areas, about 15,000 square feet in total. over the third floor A hallway, and over the events entrance small gym area at South. So full replacement of these next summer. The South pool area, locker room area, shower towers. If you don't know what that is, it's 2 large towers. I think there's 10 shower heads where the kids get in there and they shower. And these are, gosh, over 30 years old. About 8 years ago, we replaced the ones at North in the locker room area. So this will be similar work to that and an upgrade. BAS system at South, similar to North. Replacement of 3 network controllers. North had 2, and also software upgrades to the current system at South. Main gym at South, if you remember, when I was at North, I did some work and redid the floor, resurfacing, relining, repainting. Purple gym at North. This will be the resurfacing and lining of the main gym at South, which is needed. So a lot of detail in these projects, and looking forward to getting this work done at South. And lastly, CMG at South, looking to replace a riding scrubber. It's a floor machine as well. The current one they have is outdated, breaking down, and it's time for a new one. That's it. Sorry about the confusion on Legion, but I'll take any questions that you have for the 2017-18 capital.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
One, the roofs, I understand they're old, but I know that we're also anticipating, hopefully, doing some building within the next couple of years. Can't wait?
That would not be in the areas that
That would be in the
were.
areas, okay. And my second question is, I never see anything for the transition house. Is it just because it's so new, or?
Yeah, quite frankly, yeah. There's small items. Last year we did the parking lot. We added additional asphalt in the back and parking spots. So we have done some, but we really did a lot of work when we first, it was 3 years old. So in the future, but they have
The items they requested are actually falling under the large repair and maintenance services
like
as
the
well,
fence.
right? Like
Yeah,
the,
small items. They want some fencing in front by the drop-off area. So we're going to put that in the large RMS category and take care of that work. Nothing major there, though. And the equipment, the HVAC, it's all really new.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Anything else?
Mr. Davenport.
So, any chance that, that any of the items, particularly the roof, I mean, any chance that any of these items are in the, were in the master facility plan?
Most of these are equipment, you'd have to look at.
Just curious.
I would say no. I mean, if anything, we might have rolled the security cameras in that as we look at the whole security picture in the master facility plan, but I'd rather be ahead of it.
Sure. I'd just like to, I'd just like to be mindful of that as we go forward, keeping that in mind.
There's a lot of
The
equipment.
biggest
this
concern
year.
that I had was the same question Nancy asked, which was when you're doing like large roofs and stuff, are we going to lay them down to tear them up again?
What kind of roof, what
flat.
kind of roofs do we have there? The 64, 69 roofs?
Flat rock,
Yeah?
yeah. And it's only 15,000 square feet, so these aren't huge roofs. I mean, you figure this building's 14,000 square feet, so it's about,
This building.
right, and that's 2 different areas, so they're not huge areas, but they are leaking, and they are
Yeah.
to a point where we have to get them done.
What are you putting back?
Rubber.
Rubber? And then maybe the $30,000 for FF&E and North is an appropriate amount based on their need, but the comment that South and North, I mean, South still has like 600 more students, which is the size of many high schools in this state, so the two aren't the same size quite yet.
Not exactly.
So
I think the intention is that they are closer than they were.
Certainly, who can argue with that?
Yeah.
And the square footage is about the same, and not all of it's student-related, some of it's like just equipment they use throughout
Right,
the
same number
year.
of sports teams, same number of clubs, so you end up, certain parts of the areas are just dependent on the fact
So
that
it's
we run large
replacement.
comprehensive high schools. So it's furniture, it's.
Replacement of
Yeah.
what is
I understand.
broken down.
I'm just, in terms of an annual
sure people know,
allocation, I would not expect the FFE budget line item for North and South High School to be the same. That's all I'm saying, so.
Going forward, but maybe
yeah,
this time.
Correct.
We'll keep an eye on it.
It's a comprehensive list, as always. Thank you for the hard work.
I think the total is something similar to what we had.
It's a little less.
Little less than last year. We had 1.8 last, what do we have?
Last year was 1.2.
1.2, so it is the same then.
Right.
1.8
The year before
before.
that and several years
really
before
this
that
year.
were 1.8. So last year, remember, it was some budget reductions were in
Right.
place, so it dropped. And we're not restoring that all the way up to where it was.
Actually, when we, just as a point of history, the 1.8 was actually kind of a peak for us. We'd always worked in the 1.1, 1.5 range.
Okay.
And then we started trimming it back, and then we started to push it back up. That's when we hit the 1.8, trying to just take care of some of the bigger items so that we could weather a storm that may be hitting us in the next year. We'll see how all the Illinois politics work out.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so you'll bring these to us as they come up along the year, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that the
Come in under.
estimates, yeah, that's right. the
That's right.
estimates are high.
And many of these won't require, bids
Bid.
and going out. I mean, some of
Right.
the smaller ones won't, but anything large on it would come up. Yeah.
Do you anticipate that maybe there will be some lower bids, or is the market getting so strong that it's harder to get construction people?
It's been back and forth. Obviously, concrete was really bad this past year. And it all depends on when you go and who's hungry. I think we're going to do very well in January with the life safety. And there's probably 3 or 4 projects that I'm giving to White in this list, in the roof, and in the shower, and the replastering. So there won't be a lot of bidding. It'll be more of us doing competitive quoting or putting together a bid package ourselves, which is great because we kind of can see where we're at with everything. So I think we're going to be okay in January with the big stuff. That's the ones I worry about. Those big 3 that I talked about right off the beginning with life safety. Those would be a concern if they come in extremely high. These are smaller numbers, and I don't, a roof's a roof, and it hasn't been fluctuating. It's more of the material with the concrete, and sometimes, the who's putting in and how busy they are and what time of the year. And then if we catch ourselves or we're going to April or May, then wow, then do you want to push it another year, or do you want to keep going? Bid it out again. So, but I think we'll be in good shape, especially on the life safety ones that are coming up in
Great.
January.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Communications report? Oh, I'm
Tax
sorry,
levy.
tax levy. I
Tax
skipped
levy
right
first.
over you.
It's important that
That's
we
okay.
pay for all these projects that we're going to do.
So I'm going to turn this over to Mark. I'm just going to remind you that this is a process we go through every year in the budgeting process. This is one of several steps that happen. There is a change here in comparison to the past. I think that this might have come to you over several meetings in the past. This doesn't diverge from ultimately where we've ended up in the past, so we're not going to spread it out over several meetings, nor are we required to do multiple meetings, since we're not over the 5% tax cap that would require truth in taxation and multiple steps in hearings and discussions. So procedurally, we believe we'll give you all the information you need tonight to make an informed decision on this, and later on this evening, we'll ask for action on it. That being said, I will turn it over to Mark to go into the specifics and details.
Thank you. And typically, this has only been 2 meetings when we have to do truth and taxation and post it, pay to have it published in the paper.
See that?
And that law is triggered by if you're asking in 1 year for 5% more than what you actually got in the prior year, and we're well below that. And so we don't need to go through the extra expense of that. It really is no advantage of doing it in November compared to December, so if you're uncomfortable at all tonight, we can defer the action. But hopefully it's fairly straightforward, and I'll start with this exhibit that you have behind me, and we, same thing I've done for, I think, 22 years in a row now, so you probably, for those that have been with me that long, I think Julia.
Julia, would you like to give the presentation?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm very nervous. She could probably pick out things that I miss. So there's two things that we know at this time. We know what the 2015 actual assessed values were because it's history, and we've been told that by the county exactly what our taxable assessed values are. And we also know what our 2016 tax levy cap limit is, and that's 0.7%. So 0.7% increase. It's the lowest it's been in the last 5 years. We've had 5 years of decreasing CPI, and so it's been a tighter and tighter ringing on us. But the good thing about it is we know a year or so in advance, and what the CPI is going to be, and so we have made adjustments in our budget accordingly to tighten things down, and have been very, very prudent, I believe, in our management of our funds to accommodate this type of a levy cap. So two things we don't know, actually, two big things that we don't know in the yellow section here, and so I really refer to that as a section where we're protecting the district because we don't know exactly what will happen. We don't know what the 2016 assessed value will be. It'll be given to us, and we'll know sometime probably mid to late March of 2017 what the actual growth or in the last 7 years reduction has been in our EAV. But actually last year it went up a small amount, but 7 years before that it had been going down. In this case, we're using only a 4% increase number. If you look to the right, what I expect it to be, I expect it to actually be a little bit higher. But using a lower number lets us know if we would possibly hit a cap for a certain fund. Because if it doesn't grow by a certain amount, and we ask for a certain dollar amount to extend on that assessed valuation, that produces a rate, and if that rate exceeds a cap, we would not be able to levy the full amount they're asking for. And that's why there's we do it in a little protection way here. So, in that case, if we were getting close to a cap in one of these funds, we would probably increase another fund or something like that to try and just hold on to our levy amounts. And again, the big reason that I think it's all known by the board, but it's always good to get onto the record, is that the state aid apportionment and allotment by the state of Illinois and State Board of Education's budget assumes we are going to get that 0.7. And so we have to work hard to make sure that we manage our request properly so that we can get all 0.7% of that, because they will reduce our general state aid. Historically, their process has been to reduce the state aid just because the formula dictates that. It assumes you're going to get that, and they will replace their state aid with our levy. So we don't know what our new construction is. We have a pretty good idea, but there's always some variation to it. New construction or new properties added to the tax rolls, either by an addition or new development, or subdividing lots and putting up two houses where one was. So that's all new construction. It's new property to the tax rolls, and there's a weighting of actually a 4-year period when new construction is like that is done, and it actually comes out of the tax rolls. But the new page, it does not have a real clear way of getting that information. We have an idea of what we've received in the last couple of years, and we think we also have what's reported by the assessors in terms of what they are telling us it should be, and they're telling us their consensus is closer to 0.7. But we're adding a little bit just in case, because Lyle Township, for instance, he's given us a number what his new construction is, but he still adds new construction all the way to December 31st. Not all of the assessors work that way, but it still could go up. And some of the assessors have given us new construction information in the past, and historically, it's been ratcheted down because it goes through a review process at the county level. So we don't really know that number. So we're assuming, let's say that it actually is almost double what we think it will be at 1.2% for new construction. We're allowing ourselves to calculate our rates and make sure that we don't hit a rate cap with that criteria. What we actually expect, though, well, let me just roll back down. So if all of that happened, our request, and we were able to get all of our requests because we had a much bigger new construction value than we thought, that would be a 1.9% overall increase. But the difference between the 1.2 and the 0.7 is 0.5, and we really don't think we're going to get all 1.9. We're going to take 0.5 away from that over here on the right side. We think our total increase will be 1.4%, and we think half of that increase will be because the CPI increase is what we're allowed to increase it on existing properties. So existing property owners should see a 0.7% increase in their tax bill, our portion of the tax bill. And we think another 0.7 will be levied onto new property, that's new growth property in the district, either new subdivisions or new property that's added to the tax rolls. So bottom line is we're requesting $74,700,000 just as a protective base in case our new construction is higher than we think. And our actual in the green section over here is that we'll probably have to cut $352,000 away from that request in the spring. Again, we find this out towards the end of March, and in the first week of April, they give us 1 week to respond to the county clerk and tell them where we're going to take that money from, which particular levy, which fund purpose. We would be taking that out of the ed fund in this case, $352,000, and that's what we're expecting. So down here is a 1.4% increase, 0.7 new property, 0.7 because of the tax cap up to existing owners, and calculating that out on a $300,000 home would be about $18 annual increase for our portion of the tax bill. So this is what we have now. A couple of things I did, just because the rate has been so crazy in the last couple of years, I added a couple exhibits. So this first one here is just showing you what, since '91, when the tax caps were put in place, the orange line is the EAV growth, what it's been from year to year. And you can see we had 7 years where it was actually negative. Our EAV went down, the home values went down, individuals saw their home values went down. The CPI, though, even though it's been, for the most part, much lower than the EAV, keeps plodding along through that period of time. And so when they made the tax caps, they effectively disconnected these two things. It used to be whatever that top orange line is, that's what the district would have authority to extend our current rate on that full value. But the tax caps came in and said, no, you're just going to limit it to inflationary levels, and so our levies were requested to be limited to the black line on the bottom. But then we had this weird thing happen in the recession where we had assessed valuations drop, and then now they've come back up, and we've actually had 2 years now where we expect next year to be an increase of about 6.3, and last year was 3.9%. So we're going to go back into that mode where the EAV is higher than our CPI, is what we believe. And so if you flip to the next one, Tony, this is it in more like layman's terms maybe, but whenever the CPI value is less than the EAV, our tax rate is going to drop, and that's what it's been doing. It had been doing from 1991 when it started all the way through 2008, and went from $1.73 to $1.29. And now we had 7 years in a row where the EAV was actually less than the CPI. The EAV was negative for many of those years, or below CPI at least. And so that's when our rate kind of zoomed back up, because it was such a dramatic shift in the EAV. It was very unusual, as you all know. And then the last 2 years, we've seen it now where it's going back the other way. And so we expect our rate to start dropping again and to continue to drop unless we have a really weird shift in the EAV like we just did with the recession. I think, do I have one more? Is that the last one? I do have one more.
Oh, pretty
This is,
colors.
pretty
Very
colors.
pretty.
Yeah, and there's we use a analytical software. It's called Forecast 5, and it's really powerful. And we're going to probably be able to start showing you more graphs like this. But this took like 5 minutes to pull from the internet because they already have developed this information. I just have to customize it to what districts I want to do comparisons for.
Wow.
And so each of these different colors, really the main thing I want you to notice is that we're the second one from the right. We have the second lowest tax rate in DuPage County for a school. The other schools, unit districts are really impossible to compare because they're high schools, they're K through 12, and the elementaries are only K through 8, and so their rates are always going to be higher. But these are just the high school districts.
Look at us.
In DuPage County, and we have the second lowest. And the only one that is lower, and they probably always will be, is Hinsdale. They have about 40% more EAV behind each kid. So they're really, they have their values of their properties in Oak Brook Mall, which is a huge plus for them. It is so great that they can get the same or even more money than we can with a lower tax rate because their property values are so high. So I don't think we'll ever edge them out, but we could sure
It's a
try
contest.
maybe when some of that bond and interest goes off. And if you look at the bond and interest as a rate, they don't have much bond and interest. In fact, they were debt-free for many years.
Yeah.
Hinsdale. That's the light purple. That's the third color up. Some of these districts really have some pretty heavy bond and interest. And we've really worked hard to keep that maintained at a fairly low level. So anyways, this gives you actually the individual amounts. The bright orange is educational tax. And really with tax caps, these comparisons between funds don't matter much because I shift them around from year to year, sometimes between the building
Right.
fund, the ed fund. Sometimes, and other districts do it as well, so it's hard to make a lot of sense out of a one-year comparison for individual fund basis. But just wanted to show you, we're proud.
Really cool.
We have a fairly low, this is the most recent year, and last year was $2.07. I think Hinsdale was about $1.51. And up here, we're looking at $2.60, $2.70 for the top districts.
Interesting.
That's it. So hopefully in the action section, you'll feel comfortable taking action on the request for the 2016 levy.
Any questions for Mark on this?
Looks good.
Yeah.
I do want to take a moment to point out all of Mark's hard work on this. Many school districts don't have the level of expertise in-house that we have with Mark here. Many school districts would just do a balloon levy, would do the truth and taxation work, would levy at a 5 or a 10% level to make sure that they captured everything, and just wouldn't invest the time and the transparency in it. What Mark allows us to offer our community is a very transparent view into what we're trying to do with our levies and our tax rates, which is a much more accurate picture of what we're trying to do and should build a level of trust between our community and our finances with this work that he does.
Exactly.
That is very true.
Very true. And we appreciate it.
Always applaud when the tax comes in, actually.
Mark, one point is if the EAV does increase as much as it could, our rate could actually go down year over year.
Yeah, and it's
Like it
to
did.
the tail end of that, we're expecting it to go down, even if it goes up at 4%, because the CPI is so low at 0.7. It would have to be a lower growth than 0.7 before our rate would actually go back up or even stay the same. So, yeah, it's, and CPI is trending, it could hit at 2% this year. We're keeping an eye on it, which is would be unusual.
weeks
It'd be
we'll know.
about time. We're really.
What's the date that we'll know?
We won't know until mid-January. That's when
okay.
we'll get the December results. That's when they set it's based on the end of December's CPI value.
And even though the EAV grows and grows and property gets all more expensive, we still get our, whatever the levy is that we're allowed.
If our EAV doubled, it wouldn't matter. Our
Right.
rate would just cut in half. And then we would add the 0.7 to it.
That's right.
So, but it's, on one hand, I gotta say, we know it in advance and we just have to manage it.
Oh, one other statement. We heard this weekend discussion about the possible property tax freeze again from the legislature. That's probably not going to happen for a while, so it wouldn't affect this levy, which is really for 2018-19.
Before this one, before this
Right.
levy would be out, so.
It's too bad, because I wish they'd do it on this one.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking, right?
True enough. Yeah.
Yeah, not on the 2%.
And this really takes effect 2018-19, right? Or
Right, this
Yeah.
will be the 20, I have to say it out loud so that I even can figure it out right here. 2017
It's not
levy,
now.
we will collect in June and September of 2018.
18, right, for the following year.
It actually funds our 18-19
Hard to
fiscal
keep
year.
that in mind.
So we know going, out pretty far, what our revenues, because it's roughly 85% of our revenues. So it helps us just plan ahead.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, now the communications. I keep trying to
Skip one and get ahead. All right. One of the areas that we've greatly focused on under our board goals is communication in a lot of different ways, and including the community and staff. Jill has worked very hard at meeting this goal and outlining some future plans in continuing that. She's actually going to provide you some evidence of this evening as well. But I'm going to turn this mostly over to her, although I don't promise to not interject along the way, because this is an area that I'm very passionate about as well. So, go ahead, Jill.
Well, one of the first things that Hank,
Sorry, that was me.
that Hank assigned when he came on board as superintendent was to create a communications plan. And so I wanted to share that with you today and kind of what went into creating that. And like Hank said, some evidence and output of that plan. So maybe you can just skip ahead one more there, Tony. And before we created the plan, I wanted to go back to the research that we had done back in the spring when we had our survey of families. Almost 700 people responded to that and told us yet again that they rely on us for us to tell our story to them. They rely on district news to come from us. So they rely on the emails that we send, and the website are important areas that they look to. Also want to just point out the decrease in the importance of local media. So back in 2012, 77% cited that they rely on local media for their news about District 99, and today that's 14%. So clear evidence that we need to tell our own story and to do it in a compelling way. Another important source is social media. And I know that this is not news, but there's a surge in social media just from 2012, our first survey. If you can see how increased importance that is to people. Over 75% have a social media account. Almost 80% are on Facebook and Twitter. I remember in 2012, people said, Twitter, why would I go on Twitter? But now half of the people are on Twitter. And Hank, I think you're familiar with Twitter too, right?
Visited there before.
So this data is reflected in our communications plan as well. I printed out the plan. I'm not going to go page by page with you on it. It's right in front of you. I shared a draft a few weeks ago, but it really lays out our current environment, kind of a situational analysis where we are with our new superintendent, new principal at North, et cetera. And it outlines all the key audiences that we have, all of our current practices and procedures. So we have a lot of different systems that we use. And my hope is that year after year, we'll investigate that as a team to dissect where we can improve and just really make that be our guide. This has existed in different places, never under one roof, I guess. So if you have time to review that and want to provide me feedback, it's kind of an internal document, but I would really appreciate your feedback on that. It was created with input from Hank and as well as the communications advisory group that people from the buildings and Rod Russo are part of that as well. So it defines our goals for the year as well. And one of the most important prominent goals is Hank's goal is to tell our story. So he took the plan and he said, we want to tell our story. So
She's getting tired of hearing that, I'm sure.
well, I was going to start once upon a time. There was a superintendent who liked stories. So we're going to use video, and we've been using video since the beginning of the school year. Hank puts out a weekly video update for staff that's been pretty well received. Also, monthly superintendent updates to all district people. Principal videos, Ed's been starring in some of those, and says that it's beneficial because people recognize him. They feel like they know him, so he's more approachable. So that's furthering our goal of just being more communicative with people. We also have a new series, Opening Doors. I don't know if any of you have clicked into those yet, but the purpose of that is to go behind the scenes and to go into a classroom and to tell the story of what's going on there, to feature a teacher and the students in a lesson and be very specific. That's what a good story does, is it's very specific, and then it's more memorable. So we have one to show you here in a little bit.
Do that now or in a bit?
So just give me a second, so then we'll get through this. So just another way that we're sharing stories. I mean, people throughout our district are already telling these stories. So many people have a Twitter account now, so we've just implemented a new dedicated social media page that takes advantage of some software that aggregates everywhere where our hashtags are used. So within the schools, we're using hashtag WeAreDGN for DGN and hashtag DGS Pride for South High. And what we'll do behind the scenes is go through all the times these are mentioned in all the different networks, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then display that on a page. So you'll just see the story kind of start to emerge from that. So that's beneficial. People who are using social media, who want to get a kick out of being part of the district, the school web pages, and those people who never will have a social media account will benefit from going to this page as well. So we'll look to make this more prominent in the coming months. So we'd like to show you the video of one of the Opening Doors, but if you haven't seen them yet, I hope that you will check into the other ones, but this is the third one, so.
Brand new, hot off the presses, just for you guys today.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Terry Mandarino. I'm the College and Career Counselor at Downers North High School. And here in the College and Career Center, we help students with anything related to college and career topics. This is my assistant, Mrs. Neal, and we answer questions and help students with college applications, college research, scholarships, and many other topics. Today we hosted a group of 7 nurses from Good Sam Hospital right up the street who were able to come and engage with students and answer questions about the field of nursing. Hi, I'm Jenny Anderson. I am the manager of our nursing support services for Advocate Good Samaritan Hospital, and I am here today with other nursing team members from Good Samaritan Hospital speaking to high school students about a career in nursing. I graduated from Downers North in 2000. I went on to be a nurse. I have a bachelor's degree in nursing. I did not know what I wanted to do when I was the young age of high school. I figured that out later on when I was in college, at College of DuPage. I had a friend convince me to take an anatomy and physiology course, and I totally fell in love. So the job shadowing program is a 4-hour shadowing experience that you could come to the hospital and observe a nurse in a practice area that you have interest in. So it's a great opportunity if you're early on in high school to learn about what areas may interest you and if nursing is truly your passion that you want to continue on in college.
I've been interested in nursing since elementary school because I've had a younger brother and I've loved helping my mom with him and just being with people and helping people. I'm interested in pediatric or geriatric nursing.
The reason I came today was just to explore my options about nursing and like the future that it holds. And so when I thought of this program, it was really great to hear like the different areas that they participate in or are able to do this every single day, and they really seem to enjoy it, regardless of the stress or the motion aspect of it.
Today I learned a lot about how to apply for a nursing program and the requirements you need to get into one, and it was very helpful. I came today because I was very interested in becoming a nurse. I spent time at the hospital myself, and I enjoyed my nurses, and I can tell you my nurses' names because they've just made my time at the hospital better, more comfortable. I thought I might make a wonderful nurse.
It's cool. Does that make you proud, Deb?
Yeah, there you go, Deb.
Nancy, makes you proud. Oh, Nancy.
Oh, wow.
All right.
You're in trouble
We have a
now.
little case back.
So, thank you for taking the time. You know, the goal is that those are 2 minutes or less, and just very brief, specific, and try to cover a variety of departments. So that's going to be the goal this year. And we've had lots of takers. I know Valerie's in the audience. She has offered her teaching class, so we'll feature them as well. So we have a long list of people waiting in line. And I just want to thank Hank for being supportive of this and encouraging, and the board for this new innovative direction I feel like we're heading. So thank you.
One of the lines that Jill used earlier this year that I now steal as my own is she said that people drive by our buildings and they see the outside, but they don't see what's happening inside.
That's right.
And that puts us at a great disadvantage of sharing our story with our community. So I think this is an example, just a great example of the type of projects that Jill has taken on that help show that. In my weekly announcements, we try to show the same thing to teachers to show their impact. We typically end the weekly staff announcements with a couple of shout outs from kids to teachers that have made a difference for them, so that they feel that impact as well, because sometimes you don't hear those in a big building. So a lot of efforts on a lot of fronts to share our stories, but I think those are the things that'll make a difference in our community. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Jill.
This is great.
I have a question. For those of us who don't know how to tweet, but I know that I do share, whenever I get a GGN or a DGS story on my Facebook feed, I share it with my friends, and I know, like Don does, and I'm sure others do too. Is there a way the tweets can also be, for those of us who don't tweet, or other parents who don't tweet, is there some way we can just forward those to Facebook as well so that we can share those?
Will Tag Board poll Facebook?
It will if it's a public page.
So if it's-
So if your page is not private and you hashtag We Are DGN, that should pop up in our list.
Your page doesn't even have to be private. You could make that single post
So you'll
public.
explain this to me later?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we can do it,
You
okay.
make that single post public and you use one of our 2 hashtags, this new product that Jill talked about tonight, the Tag Board. It'll show up in our feed to then, for us to review, so that our official page only gets things that are appropriate for public consumption.
Which is good.
And then our media team would say, yep, we like that one, and it would flow to
Okay.
the page.
I know I've heard from other people in the community that, oh, I like to see that happened. Well, subscribe. Go ahead. Were you going to say something, Julia?
I think Terry was going to
Oh,
say
Terry, I'm
something.
sorry.
What about those folks who don't participate in any of the social medias or don't go on a website?
Like a
and
stone
then-
slab and a chisel?
Well, I'm just
Joke,
wondering,
it's a
is there
joke,
any,
it's a bad one.
our newspaper is non-existent anymore. We might as well forget about that. I looked in here, are we doing any mailing anymore? Because we do have a very large population that isn't attached to our schools.
Right.
That may not be using any of these
And we have
newfangled
we have budgeted
things.
for an annual report to be sent to everyone
Yeah.
this year in February. So that's one point of contact. But, engagement is going to be coming for other reasons, and we can piggyback off of that as well to contact the masses who are not affiliated with our schools, definitely. I'm not saying that local media is unimportant, it's just less prominent, within that group, within our families, but certainly it's an important part of the mix. Everything is important because everybody has a preference.
Well, when you think about it, probably 60% of the population in all of our district isn't affiliated with our school in any way.
Larger than that.
Yeah, and
closer to
so,
70, I think.
getting their attention is something that we're going to need to do. And
Yeah,
I understand all of this, but,
Well,
that's
it's hard to know how many of those people, maybe a lot of them already access these sites. We really don't, I think we don't know that
Right.
for sure.
Right, right.
I'll piggyback a little bit. I think we still value the newspaper. I think it's disappointing that it doesn't have the reach and depth that it used to have, but it's still something that people do pay attention to, so.
And we're speaking of the community
Yeah.
newspaper.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear
No,
for anybody who
that's-
might be listening, because
Thank
the
you.
way it sounded, almost sounded like it was one of our newspapers going out.
Right.
But
Right.
we're talking about like the Downers Grove
The local
Reporter or the
press,
local papers,
yeah.
local
But
press.
as fun as the technology is and as effective as it is, there's still great value in reaching targeted constituencies within our community in a face-to-face sort of setting, bringing people in, talking to them. And I love the idea of, as we go forward and if we have other activities that we can piggyback off of, sure, but community engagement needs to be an ongoing process regardless of whether you're pursuing referendums or not, or asking people for opinions about something or not. We need to tell our story, and so there's groups out there we could be speaking to, realtors, churches, PTAs, reaching people where they are. So hopefully that's part of the plan too, so I appreciate seeing this tonight, and I'll be going through it.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On to the master facility plan. Community engagement.
All right, so this is an update. I've been updating the board virtually on some of this, but earlier this year, we brought to you this plan for reaching out to experts to help us with community engagement, really focusing on the master facility plan, but as Board Member Davenport just eloquently said, that this is also laying groundwork for all future community engagement from here on out. So we don't want to just limit the scope to the master facility plan. We kind of want to use this as a springboard to future community engagement opportunities. With that in mind, we heard back from about a dozen different prospective groups, agencies, people.
Half dozen.
Half a dozen, sorry. To bring us proposals. We went through those, narrowed it down to a couple of companies, to two of the top out of the group. We met with our master facilities planning group and listened to proposals from each of those two finalists, and now we are down to a finalist. We're going to go through some of the process in here, and then I'll give you a little bit more on it here in a second.
So I think we're just reiterating what we've talked about the last couple of meetings, just the purpose of this related to the master facility plan specifically, and that's to broadly, which is what we're just talking about, the 83,000 people who live in District 99 boundaries. So how do we do that? And the purpose is to listen to what people have to say about our schools and what their priorities are and their concerns, and then shape a plan and adopt one that everyone is happy with and can, support. So that's really, that's simple.
So these are some of the areas that we asked for them to work their plan around. A variety, just as I don't have to read them all off to you, but that we wanted a variety of different methods and media to reach out to our community.
And this is part of the mix that who
It's really
we're
comprehensive.
recommending has.
Yes. All right. Tony, if you keep going. So timeline, you're familiar with this. This is what I just went through. And then we're going to bring to you at the next board meeting, so in 2 weeks, George K. Baum and Company are going to present live in person to you. And we'll go through kind of how they're going to approach, they're recommending that we approach this. So you can see their philosophy here, is that our master facilities plan is really owned by the community, that the community has felt that they've been able to understand it and provide feedback, and we at least as an administrative team, believe that this group that we bring to you next week will demonstrate their ability to do that.
Great.
Their proposal involves a high level of service. It also comes at a price a little more than what we thought the last time, as you know, before we had gotten anything from anybody. We're somewhere around $100,000 in total, although we would spread that across a couple of budget years. So the impact to this year's budget, we're hoping would be somewhere around $50,000 or so, but we'll see how that all works in negotiations and everything. And we're not even going to start those conversations until you've seen them and you're comfortable with them. So, and then we'll start all of the negotiations. But that's where their proposal price came in. So that was kind of low in comparison, well, mid-range, I don't know, on the lower, probably lower 25% of the proposals we
Really?
received.
Wow.
Yeah. But it is, I think, by far
It's a lot of money.
the best proposal.
It's a very comprehensive set of activities,
Yes.
for sure.
All right. So, and I think the next one I've already talked about. So, the 5th, they'll be here. Then, if you're comfortable with what you see in here, we'll work on a contract proposal, and we'll bring that back the next week to you.
On the 12th.
And then, then we hit the holidays, so it'll probably be after the first of the year we'll really get rolling.
Don just reminded me of something, whisper in my ear here. Was the program originally that we were going to have 2 come forward and present to us so that we could?
No, 2 were going to come forward to us,
To them.
and then 1 would come
Okay.
forward to you.
All right. We all had access to all the proposals, so I thought that this was the best as well. Was this one of the? I remember, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but one or two of these, there was a potential savings down the line with underwriting costs or something.
We have excluded anything that would be a
Okay.
conflict of
That's
interest or
good.
perceived that
They
way
did
from
ask-
any of the
and they
proposals.
would do that, but we want to keep it separate.
Keeping it separate.
And we
This-
don't even know that there will be that event, so we didn't
Right.
want to, we didn't want to
So
have
it's
it
not
during-
right to count on that.
And
What-
The fact that I think when we have
No,
a
go
little
ahead,
more of a conversation with them, that I think the 100 was kind of on the high end. It still might be that, but
Yeah, that was for their full scope of possibilities and.
It's sort of a cafeteria
Yeah,
plan.
there- some of it,
But we
yes.
we did not want them, any of the people that are helping us develop the plan to be interested in any other way other
Anything
than
else,
to be paid
right.
for their services.
Right. We want to just focus on pure community engagement without any other deals or things attached to it. This is it's about, as we said, we're going to talk about master facilities as our first major thing to engage the community with after the first of the year. But we hope that this is in a long line
Yeah.
of engagement with our community.
Right.
Right, so
They'll
we didn't
help
want
us
it
build-
tied to anything.
They'll help us build structures.
Yes.
Like this steering group and just identify people who, are leaders within different parts of the community. So
Well,
bringing them in.
I can offer some anecdotal evidence to this working out too, because Terry and I attended a session this weekend.
That was very inspirational,
With,
really.
with the folks, was it Wheaton Warrenville? And they have, they've been through a referendum process and it was successful, but they've used the things that they learned through that process to continue along with community engagement in a very, very effective way. In fact, I brought a couple of things to share with you that we got, the handouts, they gave us ideas and things. So, we're really excited.
Yeah, they had some really good ideas that can be used throughout the year and then to continue with even after.
I think a lot of it was born in this, they had a master facility plan, they went to referendum.
large
and they-
referendum.
But, that whole process, so there was, what I think is something for us all to keep in mind is that there's a benefit to all of this. and in this process we're about to go to, regardless of whether or not we end up moving forward with some large project or projects.
Even if we hear from our community, there's no interest in moving forward with any of this, the structures that we build here will be of long-term value.
That's right.
And that's something that I was excited about.
Which is why we wanted to keep it as pure as possible, right? So that we're building structure, we're investing in long-term value, not short-term gain in this process.
Because you look at the cost of all this, and that's something we've talked about, right? We've had some reservation, we've had some concern about what this is costing us to do, and so understanding that there's this intrinsic value in this process, that's something that we're going to, reap rewards from for years to come, I think makes the pill a little easier to swallow. My feelings.
Looking forward to December 5th.
All right.
If not, the Community Advisory Council, the superintendent?
Yep, this is just quick informational. We had our first Community Advisory Council meeting last week. We had done an all-call out to the whole community. We had our first meeting. About 40 people expressed interest in being on the committee. We had about 35 people there. It was a great turnout. We drew from, I think, all of our communities. We had pretty much all age ranges represented, from a student that's at College of DuPage all the way up to folks that are retired and haven't had kids in our school for quite a while. We had parents of kids on the way and parents of kids currently, and
that's great.
Former parents and the whole deal. So it was a nice cross-section there. We set up kind of how the committee would work. We talked about the fact that they aren't the school board. We have a school board. That they will be allowed to kind of be in the kitchen, but they're not doing any of the cooking. So it gives them an opportunity to see a little closer view of how schools work. We do have 2 staff members that are also community members and parents. So they're trifecta members that are in the room as well. So that's kind of nice. We talked about the GPA changes. We talked about class rank, the district goals. We talked about the meeting on the 29th and how that would kind of work. And then invited them to send me topics for future meetings that they would like to discuss. But all in all, a nice group. I've been getting emails back from them all week. All of them complimentary on, how the meeting went, and that they really enjoyed being part of the process, and then usually followed up with a very specific question about something. So working through those. So.
I'll just comment here, and then I will forego my time under item H coming up, because I'm just commenting once again on I attended several sessions about community engagement over the weekend.
Just for people here, this weekend was the
Illinois
Association of School Boards.
Our annual conference downtown, and we all were there, and I attended several workshops and sessions, and so mine were predominantly geared towards community advisory, and so this was something too that I discovered that in several communities that have really good community engagement programs. Having this advisory council to the superintendent was something that existed and was valuable to these other communities. So I'm really happy that we're doing this. I do have to say, at Downer South, I think Ed's been doing something similar to this with his parent advisory council, and I know we've had a similar thing at North High as well with the principals. So, understanding that, are we seeing? Is it a different group of people?
I think there's a little bit of crossover, but it's primarily different, and the topics are different.
Sure. It's good to know that we're getting some.
You disappeared for a second.
We're getting some more parents and community members involved, whereas the ones at the high school are primarily parents. So But
Right.
similar model that, and very, very valuable piece to what we're trying to do here. So that's all I'll say about that.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
That's okay. That's all right.
How often are they going to be? How often will they
We're
meet?
starting with kind of quarterly right now.
That sounds good.
You know, we don't want to take too much of people's time.
Right.
We will use them, though, periodically. I told them I will use them as a sounding board. One of the practices that I like to do, we've done it on staff memos. I've invited a wider range, like Val, to take a look at memos before they go out, and our department chairman. I anticipate using this group very similarly with messages that go out to the community. So before we blast it out to everybody, we can send it to this group and say, hey, this message is going out tomorrow. Don't share it with anybody, but how do you receive this? What questions do you have? To get a little bit of feedback before, you know, we throw it out and then we find out there's a ton of questions, or we understood it, but nobody else did, you know, so.
That's great.
We anticipate using them in that manner as well between meetings.
Before we move on to the reports from the annual conference, it is 9 o'clock, and
I was wondering about that.
you've been very patient waiting, and I said we'd try to be done by 9 o'clock. So we're going to thank you for your patience and ask you to come ahead, and we'll do the final reception of visitors now. This is for anyone who wishes to address the board on any subject.
Okay. Again, my name's Jim Wool, and as I stated at the beginning, some questions that were given on a survey. How wrong do your parents feel it would be for you to drink beer, ask the question, have 1 or 2 drinks of alcohol beverages nearly every day, smoke marijuana, use prescription drugs not prescribed to you? And then there were other questions. What I read to you were questions from the Illinois Youth Survey that North and South students participated in. I did email a board member twice. I did not receive a reply. I was told by another board member that I guess they come in blind. You don't know who they're sent by. So in the second email, I did put my name, my email, and my phone number to a board member. Please, I don't want to, I just remain anonymous. I'm not here to, you know, go after anyone or anything like that. But I was disappointed. I know, you know, that you want to reach out to the community, and I just wanted to understand why the survey was sent, you know, to the students. I will say that it was the letter sent home to the parents made it known that the students did not have to participate in it. So at the time, I had 3 children at North. I asked that they be excused from it, and the administrator that I talked to at North was very sympathetic and understood, and did, you know, pull my 3 children from that. However, I then did call North, and I did ask, you know, I asked to talk to an administrator, and I asked, why is this survey done? You know, what is the purpose of it? They told me that it was mandated by the state. Okay, so I called the state, and I talked to the person who was in charge of this, and they told me that it was not mandated, that this is at the school's discretion. So therefore, you, the board, had to take a vote on this. Again, I'm disappointed. You know, I talked to an administrator at North and told that it was mandated by the state, and in fact, it's not. I asked that person, you know, at the state, I asked them if a school did not participate, would they lose funding? She emphatically told me that would not be the case, that schools were not coerced in having their students participate in this survey. She made, you know, that very clear, that in no way there was a monetary, you know, penalty against the schools. Again, as I said, I'm disappointed that the school official led the community to believe that the survey is mandated by the state. In an email sent to the parents about the survey, District 99 explained that the survey is part of the social and emotional education of the students. This raises another grave concern. Why does the District 99 believe it should play an active or even primary role in the decision-making of what social and emotional values should be taught? I believe this is the sole and exclusive role of parents, not the school board, not the school. Furthermore, District 99 is assuming, incorrectly, that the social emotional values it wants to teach students are in concert with the social emotional values that parents want to teach their children. I believe you're trespassing on ground that is reserved for parents. A little bit on the same topic, at back to school night, a few teachers explained, during their introductory comments to the parents, that if students do not turn in a homework assignment, they would receive 50% of the assigned value. I was a little confused with this, and I approached one of the teachers afterwards, and I said, what exactly does this mean? He said, well, if your student does not turn in an assignment, let's say it's a 50-point assignment, they will receive 25 points. I said, why? And he then at that point made it clear that this was something not from the teachers, it was from the administration, and he made that perfectly clear. He said that the rationale behind it was because the student didn't turn in an assignment, that they couldn't evaluate them. Well, turn that. If a student doesn't turn in an assignment, why are they getting any credit? My wife and I try to instill in our children good values. One of those is to have a good work ethic. It builds character. And for a school district where I pay thousands of dollars to in property taxes, to have that school district mock and ridicule the values that I'm trying to teach my children, again, it's very disappointing. I don't know the exact reason for this, that we're telling students, well, you don't have to work hard. Don't turn it in and you'll receive 50%. I don't know of any business that would operate that way. I don't know in the real world how that operates, that if you ask a builder to build your home and later on you get a bill for $200,000, you're like, where's my home? Well, I thought about it. I thought about building it, so I thought I could charge you half. What are we teaching our children? What values are we teaching them? And then I guess what concerned me is what I heard earlier, where my students took AP classes. They're challenging classes, and that's the reason why they wanted to take them. They earn a D and they're going to get an honors point? Again, I'd be terribly disappointed. I know, Superintendent, that the students are all for it. Well, of course they would be. But as adults, I don't think we should abdicate that responsibility to them. I think we need to make it clear to them, to challenge them, and say, if you do earn a D in an AP class, you're not going to get that honors point. I think that is doing them, a disservice, and say, well, we're going to help build up your GPA. I think they need to earn it. Again, I did not, talk to many of the teachers. I only talked to that one. And I can say from that one that, he wanted to make it clear that it was not from him. And that, reading between the lines, I knew that he didn't agree with the policy, but that it was out of his hands. And when I told him, well, then, I will approach the board on this, he said, please, I wish you would. So from my experience, I'm assuming, I don't know, I don't think many teachers are behind it. I know they want to challenge our students. I trust the teachers in District 99 to do that. As I said, I've had 2 children graduate from 99. I will have another graduate this year. And we have other children who would be of age soon to go to attend District 99, to attend Downers Grove North. My wife and I are reconsidering that. As a matter of fact, we have a freshman who is not at North. It was a very difficult decision. Our children participated in sports, extracurricular activities, and again, we were very satisfied, with the teaching that they received, the instruction that they received. But I am concerned about the values that are now being taught. And so we made a very difficult decision, and our freshman son is not at North. It was not an easy decision, but it was a decision, my wife and I felt, we had to make. Superintendent, I will email you tomorrow.
Please do.
And I hope this time I do get an answer. I would prefer not to go to a board meeting such as this, a very formal. I think it sets up a confrontational situation, really. I wish that you would do bagels with the board again. I know it was not well attended, but again, it gave community members such as myself an opportunity to talk to the board members in a much informal way, and maybe then I could find out, because I know and I understand that you don't want to respond to me tonight, in this setting. I understand that. So I thought in an informal setting, that I could hear, maybe the rationale behind some of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to the agenda. We are at the reports from the IASB, IASA.
Were there any other members wanting to come forward?
Was there anybody else? I'm sorry.
Okay. I just thought I'd...
No, thank you.
That's a fair question.
Thank you. It's a very good question. Reports from the IASB, IASA, IASBO Annual Conference.
I do want to point out, for those that might not be familiar with this conference, that this is a yearly opportunity for boards, along with their administration, to receive professional development and growth opportunities. As we pointed out earlier in the night, it is a volunteer board that is community members, and school business might not be their background. So it is impressive, the dedication of this board, and the fact that all 7 board members were in attendance and learning at this conference. That is not typical among school boards. So I wanted to thank you all for giving up a Friday and a Saturday to show up and to learn. So thank you.
Did anybody want to share?
Well, I'm just going to piggyback a little bit with Mike. The conference thing that we went to, this was really, of all of the sessions that I went to, this one was really, I thought, the best one. I mean, these are things that that district is doing just every year, and they had some great ideas. So I hope you guys take some of these to heart, because they're very exciting. Just meeting with the realtors and having a breakfast for them and telling them how great our district is and what our kids are doing, and
They make me so angry.
It's already in the plan for this year.
and well, they're in Wheaton, which has the largest number of churches per capita of the entire country. So they have their ministers and rabbis and all of that get together and have breakfast too, so that they can go back to their specific congregations and spread the word. So and sometimes that kind of a communication is really valuable to get goodwill going. So anyway, and then the last speaker that we had was on safety, which I thought
Sunday morning.
Yeah, Sunday morning was just, he was very good. And some of the things that some of the big folks are telling us maybe aren't always the best, and that
I would just like to piggyback on that, because I was at that speaker as well, and I was thinking that one of the things I heard there and at another program that I attended or another panel discussion I attended, was that there needs to be better communication between collegial schools, so from the lower grades coming into us. We talk about students who are at academic risk, but maybe we should talk about students who are at risk for harming themselves or others. And I thought that might be, and I was going to talk to you about it too, that might be a good topic for our joint
yes.
meetings.
Yes.
That's a super idea.
That's a
Yes,
great
isn't that a
idea.
good idea?
Sorry, I missed that.
Talking about how we can better communicate about students that there are concerns about. We talked a little bit about this during the conference, about at risk for hurting others or even themselves.
The idea that might be the
For our
thing
joint
that-
boards.
with other
For our joint board meeting.
other boards that we get together, that might be the topic of conversation. So-
Because that seems to be like the root of many of the problems. So anyway, that's.
Anybody else want to share from the meeting?
Well, I'll just briefly, 357 delegates this year.
Oh, boy.
Into the room, except this year was better because they gave us little tables and stuff, so we weren't sitting like this with all of our paraphernalia and our little paddles, so it was pretty good. Little lively debate on the floor. One of the first motions actually failed that they had recommended and we voted, but it's a little bit lively debate and the motion actually failed, so it was kind of interesting this year. I can write you up a little bit more. I won't go into detail tonight, but it was good.
So I had one other thing that really stuck with me. I went to a program, they talked about AP, and it was a school, it's a smaller school, it's K through 12, and they have about 350 kids in each class. But they talked about, they had launched, they went from 4 to 7 or 3 to 7 AP courses in 1 year. It's a small school. But they talked about one of the things that they found very helpful was that they started offering pre-AP classes. So it was like a souped-up honors class with the expectation that that student would go into AP for the next level. And they found that they were able to help bridge many students who weren't necessarily thinking they could handle AP into AP in that way. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
That's a good idea.
I attended a couple of sessions on legislative activity and didn't hear anything really new. They're still, as I mentioned earlier, they're still talking about a possible property tax freeze. They're still talking about possibly having local taxing bodies share the pension responsibilities that the state has been abrogating for so many years. But I heard a very interesting history of the lack of state funding for the pension plan, which goes back to 1917. And there were several opportunities before the 1970 Constitutional Convention, and the legislature did not step up, so that's why that Constitution was written so prohibitively. But what the Constitution does, as we all know, is it requires the benefit be solid and never taken away, but it does not require the payment. So that's been the big bugaboo, and that would be the constitutional amendment we might need just to make that happen, but it still doesn't make up for all the billions of dollars that they haven't been paid yet. But there are plans. There's a plan now that it will get us all well-funded by 2045. We should all live so long. Some of us will, I guess, but so there is a plan to do that. There were some suggestions that maybe we should re-amortize that debt, which I've sort of asked about several times. But the legislature they're not anxious to do that because it stretches out the payments for another 10 years to 2055 and adds a lot of money to the debt. But so anyway, it's something that they have considered but haven't really seriously considered. So we're sort of at the same stalemate with the budget right now, or lack thereof, and that may continue, although there seemed to be some movement from some individual legislators to try to get something done. So we'll see what happens, not only in the veto session, but in January and going forward. And then I attended another session about teacher leadership training, which was really interesting. There's a lot going on that I wasn't aware of, and probably our teachers are, and I'm sure Dr. Thiele is. Very interesting programs that are there to help teachers really step up into leadership roles, not only pretty much in teaching. There's an organization of not golden teacher award winners, Teacher of the Year, and there's a whole association of them who get together and talk about how they can continue that wonderful training and that wonderful leadership training throughout the state. There's also an organization of nationally certified teachers. So it was very interesting and very encouraging, all the great opportunities there are for teachers. So that was my experience.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you for all for attending and for bringing back that information.
Yeah, it was really a good conference.
I would say this is the best I've been to of all. This is my fourth conference or third conference, the best conference I've been to. Freedom of information requests?
3 received, 3 responded to.
Thank you very much. We'll move on now to the consent agenda. Before we ask for a motion, is there any item that any member of the board wishes to remove? Okay. Seeking then a motion for the, to accept the personnel report, appointment classified, personnel report, retirement certified resignations classified, acceptance of donation to North High Science Department and the
I'll make a motion.
Rick moves.
I'll
Second.
second. Oh, go ahead, Julia.
Julia seconds.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Thank you very much. The consent agenda carries. Moving on to recommendations for actions, resolutions to honorably discharge educational support personnel.
Yes, this is a RIF along with a job description change. So we're going to RIF a position that is not administrative and repost one that is.
I move that we accept the resolution to honorably discharge educational support personnel.
Thank you, Terry.
Second.
Thank you, Mike.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. The approval of the 2017 summer school calendar.
I move that we accept the approval of the 2017 summer school calendar.
I'll second.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
And Deb Boyle.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka, aye.
I'm sorry, Nancy Kupka, thank you.
Approval of the 2016 tax levy.
I will move the approval of the certificate of tax levy. Do I get to read this whole thing?
Yes, go for
The certificate of tax levy, the certification of certificate of tax levy, and the certificate of compliance with the truth in taxation law as presented.
Yes. And you did it without a breath.
Second.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to old business policy committee reports, second reading.
Votes were brought to you last month.
Right.
We discussed all of them, much of them just procedural in nature, cleanup in nature. There have been no questions or suggestions since the last look at them as a board.
Anything new?
So I'll move that, that we accept the policies changes as submitted in the second reading.
Second.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Policies carry. Thank you. Thank you. Reception of visitors. Anyone else wish to address the board? Communications and announcements. Len?
I don't think there's anything to report at this point.
We had a breakfast.
We had breakfast.
Saturday-
They
is it Saturday
reported,
morning?
yeah, I had breakfast on Saturday.
SACID? Julia, anything?
We have not met recently. I believe we are going to be meeting next week, so I'll have more to report, but we actually are going to move into the new building
Woohoo!
in the next couple of weeks. In fact, I think our next meeting will be there. I've driven by. It looks really pretty impressive.
Cool.
So I'll have more to report.
Is there anything on the Illinois?
And I need to tell you that my term on the Humanities Council has ended. 3 years goes by and gone. And I have not yet been reappointed. I'm not sure how that will work since it was a gubernatorial appointment. So I have no report. I know they're continuing wonderful work. I know that.
I will say that what I heard this weekend at one of the legislative updates I went to was that Illinois is fighting hard to keep arts education alive.
Absolutely. And I should say, the Humanities Council usually gets about $750,000 in funding. They did not get it because of the budget freeze, so they're busily raising money from private sources. That's about half their budget.
And I think they had a big article in the Trib. Was it this week or last week? Last week, Sunday.
Well, it was part of, that was the humanities.
Series.
That's the humanities thing that goes on in Chicago. It's not exactly the Humanities Council.
Oh, okay.
But it's all wonderful work.
Terry and Don, report on the 99 Education Foundation?
Yes, if you get a chance, our new website is up and running, and take a look at that.
And there is a donation page, so you are
the
welcome to
button.
donate whenever the mood strikes you.
Well, that's
And
great.
our new director, Denise, I think we're going to be having her come to one of the meetings here pretty soon, so you can all meet her. But she's doing a great job. And like I said, Pizza Wars, it's coming up January 18th, right? Is it the 18th or the 16th?
Already.
Whatever that Thursday is.
Go look on the website, the new website. will tell you.
Yeah,
That's right, it'll all
yes.
be there.
It'll all be there on the new
Website can
website.
be accessed through either north, south, 99
Yes, yes,
Correct.
yes, there's a link
directly.
to it all. But you can also buy your tickets online, so.
January 19th.
January 19th, wrong date altogether. But anyway, it's
in
that
January.
Thursday of
Buy
finals
tickets online
week.
this year?
Pardon?
You can buy your tickets online this year?
Yes,
Ooh.
yes,
Oh, yeah?
yes.
Oh.
Yes, you can buy them online,
Good.
tell your friends, and,
Tweet it out.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
not me.
If we're sending it to you, then you can.
And I think that's about it, right, Don?
Yes.
Illinois Association of School Boards?
Yeah, well, we
Anything more
just
from
talked
the
about it, but I
board?
will say you probably all got an email from the IASB
Yeah,
asking you to fill out just a very
Fill it
small
out.
survey about the weekend's presentation. So I encourage everybody to do that because that's how they get their feedback and know what kind of presentations we would like in the future and how that helped us educationally as a school board. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to dispense with the parking
I
lot tonight.
can't, I have two parking lot items I'd like to bring to the board.
Okay, well, go for it.
First one, parent-teacher conferences. Administratively, we've talked about it. I was going to prepare a survey to send out, but in discussions with Val, she's actually working on one with, sorry to put you on the spot. The DGA, thank you, boy, it's getting late, has expressed interest in reaching out to their teachers first, so, from the DGA, so they're going to do that, and then we'll take a look at, the results in the survey, and we'll take it from there. But they were working on it, we were talking about it, so they're going to run with it, and we thank them for their efforts in that area.
Is there a reason we can't?
Data from both buildings from this past week's conferences to kind of look at the numbers, and then we post to inform where we're headed in terms of questions.
Good.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. To share what we got.
Thank you.
Yep. And then the joint meeting with partner districts, I met with the superintendents as I said I would. What they would like to do first is at the spring IASB DuPage regional meeting, we would like to get the superintendents there early and hold some tables and mix you guys together for an evening of DuPage Division ISB. What am I trying to say? Illinois Association of School Board fun for one of those evenings and do get you guys all together that way without having to put another night on your calendars. So that was what was proposed by the other four superintendents.
It's a beginning. Sorry.
Are they going to encourage all of their members to attend?
Yes.
Because some districts just send one person
No,
to each one of those.
That was part of the discussion.
Or none sometimes.
Yes,
That
sorry.
was part of the discussion, was to get, to
Okay.
encourage our boards to show up and then mix the tables with the area boards, so you can start to know one another.
So I will say that at the last meeting,
Mm-hmm.
we were mixed together. We had that little candy thing so that we were
Oh,
sitting with all
yes.
different people.
Yeah, that's right.
And at the meeting this weekend, I also had the opportunity to talk with board members from almost all of the districts that we work closely with, and they all expressed interest in a more formalized joint meeting.
The board members did.
Yes.
So,
I will pass that on to my colleagues.
thank you.
Usually the superintendents again that way.
Yes.
And that was it
Yes.
for me.
Okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, upcoming board meetings, so we're going to have, I'm sorry, what was the date for the informal meeting, people interested in the board.
The 29th.
The 29th.
7 PM, right here.
Again, you don't have to attend in order to run, but we will be right here. Several of us will be here to talk with you about it. There is a board meeting December 5th, right here at 7 PM, and then again on December 12th will be, that's the workshop is on December 5th. December 12th will be the regular business meeting here at 7:30. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Mike?
Second.
Terry, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank
very
you.
much.